Nigga access to VIP. Oh, wanna say kanya my flesh with nana. Oh, nothing is like. Say nothing chola ne krupi. Ah, ukuna backbone no nabi. Nyala. Say nothing chola ne krupi. Ah, ukuna backbone no nabi. Nyala. Izinja zempilo ma. Umuto titi, otiti titi. Wama elista. Ufunu shala na ma elista. Relax, amuso penika. Sama moody, sama moody. Wama elista. Ufunu shala na ma elista. Relax, amuso penika. Sama moody, sama moody. Ah, ufuna backbone no nami. Nyala, sengating chola ne groupie. Ah, ufuna backbone no nami. Nyala, izinja zempilo ma. Umuto titi, otiti titi. Angas mina ngizoyithini ndaba. Angas mina ngizoyithini ndaba.
Hello, everybody. Sometimes you have to look you need to look at what you're doing. My controls were, you know those little buttons they call the faders? Well, all of my faders were down. Here I was attempting to speak to you when the whole time my faders were down. Hello, everybody. Good evening to you. Usually I do not come to you in the evening, as is my custom. Usually I come to you when I'm working and during my working hours. But sometimes things happen that sort of compel us to make comments and to give reactions almost in real time. Of course, that's not always possible, but we do it whenever it is possible. So thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to spend some time with me here on SML TV. Got to throw that back there, boy. Tell you what, we should get one of them wireless, what do you call these, headphones. All righty. Before we begin, as is my custom, I would like to throw up a few shout outs to many of you that are joining us. Thank you so much. Abraham, what is this? What is going on? Abraham says, you look a little frail. You look a little frail this evening. Could somebody define frail, for goodness sake? Frail means weak. It's almost as if you're saying I look famished or anemic. Do I look anemic? I don't think so. I think I look all right. I think I look okay. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm fine. I've had both of my corona shots. I feel great. I feel fantastic. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. Hey, Cheryl, we love SML TV. Well, Cheryl, we love you. Let's just go ahead and throw it out there. Thank you, Cheryl. Bless your heart. David Lungu, hello to you. Jairus Banda, watching from Poland, loud and clear. I'm not sure how to say that word in Poland. Well, thank you, Jairus Banda, for watching. We appreciate you. Daniel Sianga, good evening. Good evening to you, Daniel. And, here we go. This is something you don't hear all the time. Meki Shikesho, watching us from Namibia. Namibia in the house. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us for a few moments. Okay, just very quickly, I'd like to discuss something that, of course, is trending now. And I think it would be apropos for me to throw in my thoughts and my reaction in as far as this issue is concerned. All of you are aware that a few weeks ago, the Electoral Commission of Zambia suspended Mr. Kambwili from his campaign trails because they felt that he had used some words that were not appropriate on the campaign trail. They defined it, the Electoral Commission of Zambia defined Mr. Kambwili's words as hate speech, is what they said. And as a direct consequence of that, the Electoral Commission of Zambia suspended him. Now, let me veer off here for a moment and caution you that are listening to me, you that are vloggers, you that have an audience on Facebook or any type of audience in cyberspace. I would caution you to be very careful when you talk about politicians on your platforms. Now, I'm not saying that don't express yourself. I'm not saying that don't give your opinion. What I am saying is that be respectful when you're speaking about our politicians, and understand also that as vociferous and as contentious as this year's elections are, we must never lose sight of the fact that we are Black people that have a culture. I will never stop singing about that. You may tire of it, you may get fatigued of it, but I will never stop talking about that. No matter how strong your opinion is, there is absolutely no reason for you to resort to insele, kulatukaba kalamba, nanguna ukwata opinion. The great late Martin Luther King used to say, let us disagree without being dishonorably disagreeable. That may have been a paraphrase, but you get the point. What that means is that I can disagree with you, engage, without having to resort to insulting you. When I say insulting, I'm talking about swear words, insele. There's a difference between being offended and being insulted. If you and I have a difference of opinion, I may offend you or vice versa. But we don't have to get to a point where you start using profanity and turning the air blue with explosive expletives just because you want to make a point. No. Tudivantu. Disagree. Air your opinion. Express yourself as best as you know how. But you don't have to insult and use insele to get your message across. I was listening a few minutes ago to, and of course, if I named her, you would know who she is. And this is someone that I get along with very well because we're vloggers. You know, let me explain something to you. Vloggers have we have a small Zambian community of vloggers. We all know each other. We all speak to one another. And because we know each other, there's a level of engagement there. But every so often, you know, you'll hear a vlogger, a fellow vlogger say something that out of turn, and it sort of rubs you the wrong way. Just a few hours ago, I was listening to a vlogger, a very famous vlogger, and she used a word that was totally unnecessary when trying to express herself. She was upset about Chishimba Kambwili's some of the statements that he's made, and she used a phrase. Of course, I can't repeat that. That is not kosher. It's not necessary. So you see that man there? That's a portrait of my dad there in the back there. My father used to say, a man uses profanity. You know what profanity is? Insile. A man uses insile because he does not know how to express himself. So if you don't know how to express yourself, expand your vocabulary so that we don't have to sit here and listen to your insile. Just make your point. There, I've said it. So back to the issue. Kambwili was suspended by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And this is exactly what they said, and I quote. They said, following these sanctions, okay, Mr. Kambwili has shown remorse through the apology he rendered to the commission and indeed his conduct during the time of his suspension. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and again, I have to qualify this. I have to say this every time I talk about Kambwili. Chishimba Kambwili and I are very cordial to one another. Every time I see him, he's very kind to me. Kambwili is the type of person that when you sit down with him, he is an experienced politician. I mean, you like when you're sitting with him, you're like a sponge. Do you know that word sponge? Not sponge. Because I know some of you are going to roll up on here and start talking about sponge. Ni sponge, des sponge. It's a sponge. You soak it up. Every word that drips from his mouth is political experience. This is not his first rodeo. I mean, Kambwili has been around for a long time. So he knows the Zambian psyche. He knows the Zambian attitude when it comes to politics because he's lived it. He's had hands-on experience, one-on-one with the Zambian voter. So when you sit with him, the one thing I gleaned, I gathered from him, I soaked up from him, number one, make no mistake, he loves this country. But he's not perfect. And ever so often, because we are imperfect human beings, sometimes we say things that are not correct. Sometimes we speak out of turn. Sometimes we err. But it doesn't negate the fact, it doesn't do away with the fact that he loves this nation. He is a patriot. I can vouch for that because I've sat down with him. I've spoken to him. I've heard what he says. I have listened to the heartbeat of the pathos of his chest. I've heard it. But ever so often, as politicians and as human beings do, we make mistakes. And in this case, I'm one of the people that also believes, as many of you believe, that Mr. Kambwili's comments, his tribal comments, were spoken out of turn, were more retrogressive than anything else, and should be condemned in the strongest possible terms. And so the commission said, we've lifted, just a few hours ago, they announced that the commission has lifted the ban or the suspension of Mr. Kambwili because Mr. Kambwili has apologized. Now, as far as I know, Mr. Kambwili didn't apologize for the comments. He apologized for holding an impromptu rally. Let's go through it here. I'm just going to play this for you.
Fellow Deputy Media Director. We should have been joined by Mr. Malanji, the chairperson for elections. Unfortunately, he's verifying the campaign, and this arrangement was only made late last night, so he was unable to come. But we had two lawyers who came with us, and basically we just came to understand and make an appeal against this suspension or ban that has been imposed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia on me as an individual. As you may be aware, they complained of, whoever complained of two things. One was that I held a public rally against the ban by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. On that score, I sincerely apologized to the Commission and promised that this will never happen again. From deep down the bottom of my heart, I sincerely apologized, because even that rally that we had was not intentional. We were supposed to have an indoor meeting where they called party officials, but you know, people where I go as Chishimba Kambwili, people just started coming, and it became overwhelming such that we couldn't have the meeting in an enclosure. So we decided.
Okay, so you've heard the first part. What Mr. Kambwili is saying there is that he had gone to the commission to explain what happened, and he profusely apologized for holding an impromptu rally. That's clear from the audio. He continues.
Address the people outside. That was very, very unfortunate, extremely unfortunate, and I've sincerely apologized to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. On the other hand, there was a complaint that I was exercising hate speech and tribalism. On that one, I have refused to apologize, because I have never uttered hate speech except to expose the tribalism of one Hakainde Hichilema. Since he became president of the UPND, he has psyched the people of Southern Province to believe that you can only vote for a man who comes from your area. And the statistics and numbers don't lie. From the time he came on the political scene, almost all the people in Southern Province, like the 2016 elections, all the
Okay, so
all the political parties combined had 8.
So there it is. That's basically the gist of Mr. Kambwili's statement. When he came out, he said, I apologize for the impromptu rally, but, and I quote, I have refused to apologize for the alleged tribal remarks that people are accusing me of, is basically what he said. So, which brings me then back to this question. Why would the Electoral Commission of Zambia issue this statement? And this is a direct quote from the ECZ. Following these sanctions, Mr. Kambwili has shown remorse through the apology he rendered to the commission, and indeed his conduct during the time of his suspension. Electoral Commission suspended him because of the hate speech. He apologized for the impromptu rally, but did not apologize for the quote unquote hate speech, which to him, in his mind, he doesn't consider it as hate speech. And I've often said this. Here's the thing about apologies, especially on social media. And I teach this to many of you guys. I've done this before. There's nothing worse than apologizing because you are compelled to apologize. An apology is only heartfelt when it is sincere, it comes from the heart, and the person is truly remorseful. That is when an apology is authentic, is real. If you force someone to apologize and they apologize, it won't be real. So in Kambwili's heart, as far as he's concerned, he didn't do anything wrong. He feels that that was not hate speech. Of course, many people disagree with him. What I believe is that Mr. Kambwili made statements that were erroneous, completely erroneous in my view, you know, and they ignite sort of the wrong flame and the wrong embers. And we don't want those embers within the confines of Zambian society. We don't have them. We have just lost a gallant soldier of democracy in the name of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who championed one Zambia, one nation, we would be wrong, erroneous, and flawed, and so fickle. Fickle. Look it up, it's a word. If we began to embrace this tribal rhetoric. Now, the question may be, is Mr. Chishimba Kambwili a tribalist? I don't think so. And I only say that because I've spoken to the man. If I didn't know Kambwili, if I just took him at face value and listened to the things that he says, sometimes on the campaign trail, because, you know, when you're campaigning, there's certain things you say on the trail that you wouldn't say at a dinner table at 7 o'clock at night in your home with your kids. That's just the way it is. But based on my experience with him, I wouldn't classify him as a tribalist. I think that he's made tribal remarks. And of course, that's a slippery slope. Some of you are going to jump on me for that. But my point is this, and I'm not trying to cover for him. I'm really, truly, I'm trying to explain and express something to you that I truly believe. The issue here, aside from the fact that I don't believe Mr. Kambwili is a tribalist, he makes tribalist remarks because of the political atmosphere and what's at stake. Everybody knows that in a campaign year, desperate times call for desperate measures. All the political parties do this. The stakes are high on both sides of the aisle. Let me say that again, because I think that's abundantly important. The stakes are high on both sides of the aisle. The Patriotic Front, in their minds, they have to do everything within their power to win this election. On the other side, the United Party for National Development, they have to do the same thing. They have to do everything within their power, at their disposal, to win this election. The stakes are high on both sides. So because they're high, every nuance, every nook, every expression, every grunt has to be scrutinized. The key is to come out unscathed. The key is that at the other side of this, we still have a country to live in and a country to manage. Let's not lose sight of that. There are some politicians that can't see beyond their noses. I'm not saying Kambwili's like that. I'm just giving you an expression. You know, there's some people that can't see beyond their noses. This is as far as they can see right here. But the truth is, there's a country to run. There's a life to live. There's an existence to be had after these elections. So this is my verdict on this. I think that the Electoral Commission have dropped the ball. The Electoral Commission are being disingenuous, in my view. In my view, the Electoral Commission have issued a half-baked statement, and they have just shown that they are a tiger with a glass jaw. Boom. Can we say that? A very quick note. Side note to you vloggers. Side note to you youngins. Side note to you young thundercats that call yourself vloggers. Notice from the moment I began this broadcast, not one insult, insele, not one. It shows you can express yourself without being disrespectful. Just put your point across. So in my view, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is a tiger with a glass jaw. You've said something that is simply not true. Mr. Chishimba Kambwili did not apologize for the remarks that you deemed as hate speech. You called it that. The Electoral Commission of Zambia called it hate speech. Mr. Chishimba Kambwili came out and he apologized for the impromptu rally, the spontaneous rally, which is understandable. But he did not apologize He did not apologize for what you termed as hate speech. He didn't apologize for that, which for me, I believe that those comments were erroneous and they have no place in our society and they should not be uttered. Those are comments that have the potential of snowballing, even though we don't have snow here, but you get the point. They have the potential to grow bigger than what it is. The Word of God says that one leaven leaveneth the whole lump. One leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So whenever we crack the door and we push the foot of tribalism into our space and we entertain that type of talk, ultimately it won't just stop. It won't just stop at the foot in the door. The whole body will be in the door, and we will only have ourselves to blame. Okay, I've spoken for 26 minutes. That's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for listening. Let me read a couple of your comments here. Mwangala Mwala says, ECZ are working hand in hand with the PF. Not rocket science. We need an overhaul of the ECZ. It's not impartial. Interesting view. Chico H. Owens says, a tiger with a glass jaw. Exactly what ECZ is. I believe that. I believe that. Somebody says, Moore says, you're trying to justify the unjustifiable. No, I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just giving you my view on it. Here's a comment. Here's one. Nyambe says, when then does a person who continuously makes tribal remarks, a man and his words are one? Interesting comment. Interesting comment. And let me say something here before I go that I think is really important. I recently attended a workshop that was conducted by a polling organization. They do opinion polls, and they went across 5 provinces. 5 provinces. They didn't do a comprehensive study, which I felt that they were wrong in coming to us with a half-baked analysis on the ground. They went through 5 provinces and they did a survey. What I found interesting about that survey is that by and large, lots of people sort of vote for their person. If you look at the statistics, the numbers, let's say, for instance, the numbers that came out of the polling numbers. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about votes casted, okay, or cast. I'm not talking about votes cast, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about opinions, a survey. By and large, for example, in the East, the Easterners overwhelmingly supported our president. Overwhelmingly. Is that tribalism? I mean, literally, they have the study, they published the study. If you go to that organization, it's in the public domain. More than 80% in the East, they voted, they overwhelmingly polled for our president. Are they tribalists? So these are the questions you have to ask yourself. And the answer to that question is an absolute no. Easterners are not tribalists. They're not. So what is that? So it is wrong and disingenuous for us to call one group of people tribal, but another group of people, well, that's just them. No, let's move away from that. Okay, guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. Good night. Bye.